guys, welcome to the Newbie Real Estate Investors Podcast. I'm Jonathan Boyle with my co-host Joey Chan, and today we have special guests,
Hey guys.
Moirai and Gabe. How's it going, everyone?
What's up, guys?
Moirai, Gabe, how'd you guys get started in real estate?
Kind of a wild story. We'd be here all day if I were to walk you guys through the entire thing. But long story short, myself and our other business partner, Omar, used to be roommates in Los Angeles. And, he just one day was like, we should start a real estate company. And knew nothing about real estate. So I did what everyone probably does when they first want to learn about real estate. You go to like a fortune builders event. And
I did that.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I guarantee if you asked like everyone how they got started in real estate, that somehow ties back to fortune builders at some point. We went to the cheap fortune builders event where they try to upsell you to like the real thing. And, really it just taught us all the things. It didn't give us any of the answers we were looking for, but it did teach us all the things, that we needed. Pointed out a lot of the things that we were going to need to know if we wanted to get into this business. So, we kind of set out on search for those answers, and we landed on wholesaling as an entry point into real estate because it was, it's probably the cheapest and least risk involved getting into real estate. So generate a lot of capital very quickly, without having much of your own, if any. So that's what we kind of did, right? We hopped into wholesale. We just tried to learn everything we could about that. And our other business partner at the time, who's no longer with us, introduced us to Gabe. And he actually came on the company starting off as an acquisitions representative. And then, once our other partner exited the company, we brought Gabe in as a partner. And then, we've just been rocking and rolling ever since.
The year was 2017, not too long ago. I was actually still in school. I was still at the college in New Jersey. I was just not feeling passionate at all about the things that I was studying. I wasn't enjoying college really from an intellectual standpoint. I mean, it's fun to, go out and stuff, but really there was nothing professional that I saw. I was studying political science. Corey and, the other guy that we were with asked me if I wanted to help them with real estate endeavors. I didn't really understand what the hell was going on, but I did it anyway, and it ended up working out. We worked really, really hard, and it took us a while to get deals. Our perseverance paid off.
Did you also go to a fortune builders event too?
I did. Not with Corey, but separately, just randomly. Somebody invited me to a fortune builders event, and I went. It was their weekend, like 3-day thing where they just do nothing but upsell you on their $50,000 course. Good times.
John, did you ever go? I never heard you actually mention that ever.
I actually went to one, but it was like before I even thought of real estate, really. It was just like 23. I went, didn't know anything, and I knew they were upselling me, and I was just pretty upset about the whole thing. So I just left, and then it's funny, years later, I actually started taking it more seriously and going to actual meetup events and learning. So, it really wasn't a stepping stone for me.
It's like a rite of passage.
Yeah, seriously. It's crazy because I hear that, not to bash them at all, one of the major things that they're marketing, like even probably more so than flipping, is like the wholesaling route, but they're just really behind the times when it comes to like relevant wholesaling strategies. They're like really on the whole guru thing, man. It's kind of a shame. Now that you guys first meet, this is a great story. I heard it a few times. Right. You guys already know.
Joey loves this story. Joey loves hearing this story. We could tell Joey this all day.
I want to hear it one more time, okay? But this time, we're going to record it. So once you guys met, what was the first deal that you guys did, and how did it go?
So we'd been marketing deals. We've been doing direct mail, mailers for about 3 months, and we finally caught one. We locked up this deal. It was actually a condo in Bergen County. We put it under contract. We marketed it to a bunch of buyers. It took us a really long time to find somebody, but we finally found somebody. And she said, look, I'll buy the house, or I'll buy the condo. I'll pay the price that you want on one condition. Condo's got to be cleaned out. You had a bunch of junk in it. Somebody passed away who lived there. It's like, look, I'll pay your price, whatever, but it's got to be clean. We were like, yeah, no problem. How hard could that be? Just clean out a condo full of crap. So we go up there on a Sunday. We got to realize at
the time we didn't even know how much stuff was really in there, because this was our other business partner. He was actually controlling the dispo at this point in time. So he tells us like, hey, yeah, this lady's down to take it. And then as it turns out, once we get under contract with her, you know, she was down to take it with that, you know, clause. And you know, he told us like, oh, there's not that much stuff here. And then as Gabe continues into the story, you're going to realize like
There's
just
a
how
lot
much
of
stuff
stuff
there was.
So it takes us like a whole day on take all of this stuff and we just put it in the dumpster, you know, in the parking lot. They got a big dumpster.
Wait, how many?
Great. We're done, right? Ready to close.
No, sorry to cut you off. How many guys was there to do this?
3 of us.
There's 3 of you. You, Corey, and Omar, or somebody else?
No, I had my friend drive up from Ocean County with his van.
Okay.
He had like like one of those white, one of those white cargo vans, and he drove up, and we were up there at like 3:00 in the morning, like dumping all this stuff in the condo complex's dumpster.
Yeah. So anyway, we think everything's good. Everything's in the dumpster. The place is cleaned out. We're ready to close. The next morning comes along, and the seller calls us. The property manager called her, and they have all of us on tape taking all of this shit and putting it in the dumpster, and you can't do that. You're not allowed to just fill all of the other residents' stuff with your crap. And he tells us, he's like, hey, you got until the end of the day to get all of the stuff out of the dumpster. So we had to go back there with the van and go dumpster diving and take all the shit out of the dumpster, go dump it illegally somewhere.
Now it's still up for debate on if we actually did illegally dump the things or not.
Illegally, yeah.
May or may not have done that.
You know why this story is so funny to me? Because it's happened to me also. But I was like years into my business. So my story real quick. I'm doing this for a customer, right? And I demoed the place, and there's a dumpster outside. I talked to one guy who supposedly owns the dumpster, right? This guy renting the dumpster, and it's not filled up at all. So I asked the guy, I'm like, hey, can I use your dumpster? He's like, yeah, no problem. You know, you pay me a few bucks. You use the dumpster. I was like, all right, cool. We proceed, we use the dumpster, fill it up. It wasn't a lot, we didn't like fill it all in. Probably put in about like 5 yards out of a 30-yard dumpster. And then basically a day or two later, his boss comes looking for me, and he's like, yo, why did you throw, all your stuff in my dumpster? I was like, well, one of your guys told me we could. He's like, who is it? I was like, I don't know the guy's name. I was like, Hispanic dude. He's like, there's all these Hispanic dudes running around this building. Why did you throw it in my dumpster? I was like, because he let me, So anyway, I had to get my own dumpster in the end and take all that crap out of there. That's no fun.
Jeez.
Yeah, when we did it, like the other people that lived in the other condos were like laughing at us. Like, look at these losers.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's a rite of passage.
No, there was people like literally coming out of their condos, like calling people to like come look at us. They're like, look at these guys like digging out of it, like digging in the trash, and like it was like a scene,
Oh my God.
And we were willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah,
no,
we were willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah, no, like I remember I have a rite of passage story like that, sort of. For my first deal, the homeowner would like refuse to leave without getting like a good portion of her furniture. But she didn't have anyone to get her furniture. So I actually had to figure out getting a van, like to load her stuff. And I drove back and forth to the place that she was moving to 5 times, and I helped her move the furniture into the van several times. So
Loyal movers.
Crazy.
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, and this was like the day before closing in the rain. Everything can go wrong did. Like literally, I was moving some stuff in the rain, and I tripped as I was holding the furniture. It fell on me. My back was completely full of mud. I never told the story because like I never really thought of it. I guess I was traumatized, but like then after driving the van, I had to clean it because now this van is just full of mud and everything.
Jeez.
So
I've never heard this story.
yeah, no, I think I suppressed it because I remember this now very vividly.
That's what sets people apart, though, right? I mean, you hear all these people that just because a lot of them just persevere through the hard times, you know?
Yeah, I get it.
Where were you guys for this whole like coronavirus was going on in terms of like what kind of volume, what kind of advertising dollars were you guys putting out there? What were you guys doing?
Yeah, so I mean, before this whole thing happened, we were really just putting our foot on the gas as it relates to marketing and like really trying to scale the business. Before this whole thing broke out, we were spending, somewhere between like $6,000 and $8,000 a month on marketing, and that's just various marketing channels, text messaging, cold calling, direct mail, kind of the standard things that you see people doing. And then obviously now things have changed a little bit, because one thing that I think people may have made some mistakes with is when you don't see the landscape changing and you just keep doing the same thing that you were doing, and now your results change drastically, your ROI is going to be significantly less. So that's one thing that I think we were really in tune to the market when this whole thing started to happen. We were making changes like very quickly, like before people really even knew like what was going on. We were already shifting our marketing, moving to like all the cheapest possible marketing channels where we could get the highest possible ROI. We were changing our employees' pay structures, moving them off of a salary plus base to a pure salary model, a pure commission model, where they could make more money on commission, but we could conserve some capital within the company. And so, it's just about staying, I think it's in times like this, especially just staying in tune with what's really going on with the market. So you can make those adaptations very quickly. Otherwise, you get deep into it and you've lost a bunch of money, and, you really can't, you have no way to recoup that.
So I guess, what are some, not to get into too much detail, because, I don't, whatever you're comfortable with, what channels do you guys, or you guys did pre-COVID and like now after COVID, when it comes to your marketing strategy? Like, how did you pivot a little bit?
Yeah, we went to all like the lowest possible cost. So when you look at marketing in general, in typical marketing strategy that people use in real estate or wholesaling, it's pretty much the cheapest you're going to get is text messaging. And we happen to use a text messaging service that we get extremely discounted rates with. So, we gravitated to that specifically. And then we just focused a lot more on follow up with existing leads, right? Like a new lead that you get today is somebody else's existing lead. Guaranteed. If somebody calls you today off of marketing, they've talked to somebody else in the past 9 times out of 10. They're an old lead for somebody else. So you have to use this time to look internally. When a crisis is going on like this, and some people are now have the motivation to sell that they didn't before. So we really looked back into our internal lead database, which is a couple thousand leads, and we started to hit those because that's of no cost to us at all. Mm-hmm. And then, all of the new marketing that we were doing using the absolute lowest possible cost methods like text messaging. You can reach a lot of people for very little money. Doing that.
That's awesome. So I know you guys have your own sort of CRM, your customer relations manager. What made you guys decide to create your own instead of just using something that's already out there?
Gabe could probably speak to this because, the CRM that we were using back when you first got on board, Gabe, was Investorfuse back then?
Investorfuse, yeah.
Yeah.
We found it was very difficult to run your own individual unique business based off of a cookie cutter CRM. So, there's a lot of integrations that they didn't have, with other programs that we use, and, just other features that they don't have that quite frankly have just blown up our business. So, we decided to just take that step and develop it ourselves. And, we've had some help, but it's definitely been worth every second.
We built our business processes into the CRM, right? So, it essentially supports our business now. So, you're talking about a CRM that was built from the ground up to support a 7-figure, 8-figure wholesaling business. That's literally what we built, as we scaled our business. And We figured out the intricacies of what works, what doesn't work, and we really streamlined those processes. We just built those processes directly into the CRM. It's changed our business. It allows us to do more volume, and when we first started, obviously, like one of the downfalls was we just didn't have that many people, right? I mean, like sheer manpower, we didn't have the resources to hire all these people. So, naturally, the one of the best things you can do is create awesome business processes where you can then handle more workload between those people and generate more money for yourself. So that's what prompted us to do it. And just like Gabe said, I mean, we built a machine, and it really feeds the business now.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, and just to like nail down what he said, about being able to make a lot with a little, like the better your processes are, and like the more scalable your system in general is, the more you can do with less people. So, we don't have a huge operation of 20 employees or anything like that. It's just a few people who work with us, because we spent a lot of time on the front end to be able to put those systems and those processes in place. It's really given us a huge ROI just in terms of what we can do with the amount of manpower.
It makes you really versatile in a situation like this, because there's some people that they have a business that's very heavy reliant on just a workforce. So guess what happens when you get into a situation like a COVID or a recession or whatever? Well, now you're left with all this manpower, but you don't have the revenue to support it. So for us, it gives us the ability to, if we want, we can become very lean and streamlined very fast, which is what we did in this scenario. And when this whole thing blows over and we're back to businesses booming again, it gives us the ability to scale up very quickly. Just by simply flipping a switch and turning marketing on and hiring people, we can ramp up very quickly, and we can also cut very quickly. So it gives us the ability to be very versatile in what we're doing.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. What would you say, having gone through that, what would you say is the biggest key to, I guess, your success, right? To, not so much your success, but how you guys are doing today, right? Because I know you still don't consider yourself as successful as you want to be. We'll just use that word anyway.
Yeah. I'm sure Gabe will have his own definition of this and what it looks like to him. But honestly, just sheer perseverance, man. I mean, we faced so many trials and tribulations through this. And the two things that I would think that got us point is, A, we continue to educate ourselves and grow, and we're always looking to stay on the cutting edge of things. So we're never getting complacent and thinking that we know it all just because our system is working. We're constantly improving and growing, bettering our systems, our processes, and our knowledge. And then just sheer perseverance, that even when things get tough, like we don't quit, we don't shut anything down. When we were talking the story about our first deal, I mean, we almost went bankrupt then. We almost went bankrupt like probably 3 times after that. And, we all left. I mean, Gabe was obviously doing really well in school and probably could have went into a career that was a pretty solid paying career. I left a $200,000 paying job. Our other partner, Omar, left a, over 6-figure paying job with NASA to come do this. So, we have utter belief in the company and what it can do and where it'll go. And, I don't regret it for anything. And I think that just those two things, if I could attribute it to anything, have got us to where we are now, and they'll continue to take us to where we want to be.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And just even more than he said, I mean, always be learning. I was so excited when Joey said he wanted to have us on this podcast, because it's called the Newbie Real Estate Investors Podcast. And, as much as Joey knows, and as much of an expert as Joey is in a lot of fields, he still considers, just always be learning, always be educating yourself. I was so excited when Joey invited us to be on this podcast, because it's the Newbie Real Estate Investors Podcast. And even though Joey is a freaking beast, and so is Jonathan, they still are just always out there educating themselves, learning, pretending like they know nothing so that they can learn everything. And that's really always been our motto. If you're a wholesaler and you're marketing these properties to buyers, you're speaking to very experienced people in the buying space, often, agents, people in the lending space every day, learn from them. And just doing that over the past 3 years has just helped us to just boost our knowledge like crazy. I hate seeing somebody in this business who just acts like a know-it-all.
No, that's
because nobody knows it all.
I could definitely agree. Like, I swear, I think I learned something new from every guest. and like I just like love to implement it back into my business. Whether it's something that's actually like mechanical part of the business or just like foundational, so it's definitely something I love to hear from you guys. Which actually kind of brings me to a question I wanted to ask you guys. After you got done with your first deal, what was like the first thing you guys did to grow your business? Like, what was the first thing you had reinvested those profits into?
Just straight into marketing. So it's another key mistake. Like if you're a newbie wholesaler, don't fall into this pattern of like you just collected a check and it's the most money you probably ever had in your life, and then you go and buy a Rolex, or just all this different stuff that I see people do. We knew from day one that we wanted this to become a business, and thus we had to treat it like a business. So we reinvested every cent of that first deal back into marketing, and that's how we were able to survive and actually get our next 3 deals, which all kind of came right at the exact same time. And that's just what we've been doing ever since. We've just been every single deal. We've reinvested the money back into the company to be able to grow and scale. And it's really what's got us to this point, and it's what's allowed us to have a thick bank account to be able to weather storms like this, and to also be able to invest into, larger commercial assets as well. But we would never have had the ability to do that if we hadn't reinvested back into the company. So yeah, that's what we did, and that's what we'll continue to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit more about some of the other strategies that you're implementing, like investing into the apartment building and fix and flips that you're doing as well?
Yeah, I'll talk you guys through kind of the commercial side and the stuff that we're targeting and what we're doing there. And then Gabe has really been the hands-on guy with the flip that we have going on, that, we've gotten some help from you and your guys with, Joey. So we really appreciate that. And it seems to be going well now. On the apartment side, actually, we were locked in. We were under contract to purchase 16 units in Charleston, South Carolina before this whole thing went down with COVID. And then we had to exit the contract. But I mean, until this happened, I mean, it was a huge value add play, and, we would have probably been able to, pull out, I don't know. I mean, with the refi, in probably a year or 2 after the purchase, we would have pulled out, an extravagant amount of money. And we had seller financing locked up for 2 years with a low interest rate, and nothing was payable until the note was due. So it was a phenomenal deal in a phenomenal market. And if things really didn't go the way that they did, I think it would have been a home run deal. But it's just about diversifying our business. Like, wholesaling is great and it's a great capital generator, but it's not really a long-term wealth strategy. Doesn't give you, tax benefits. It doesn't give you passive income. It's very much an active stream of income. Whereas, when we can push that money into these commercial assets, and we can collect the tax advantages, and we can, start to create passive income for ourselves, and ride appreciation and things like that over time as the market trends back up. But yeah, I mean, so now obviously we've just been able to kind of have that money on deck just as operating capital, but we're hoping that, as unemployment seems to keep rising, and people inevitably will miss rent payments, and people that are over leveraged will have to give these properties up for cheaper. We think we can get into a good deal on the commercial side, and then we'll continue to use the wholesaling capital and put it into those assets, and refi those assets and keep building that portfolio. But Gabe will also speak to the flip that we have going on, which is a good opportunity, and he's pretty much headed the way on that as far as it's concerned. Everything that's went into it, he's pretty much been the point man on that.
Yeah, of course. And, it's a pretty standard flip for us. First one that we've done, it didn't really need much work. We found a deal that, we got from our own marketing, and we just decided to take it on. It didn't need a ton of work. Joey actually was a big help in terms of getting the rehab done. So shout out to Joey. But I think just in terms of like doing wholesaling and then transitioning to flipping, I think one thing that I'll say is, if you're wholesaling these deals to buyers, you have a great network that you're building just by doing these wholesales of buyers, of lenders, of real estate agents, of really everybody in the business, contractors. insurance people. I mean, at least I have, and, just to be able to leverage that network, just through a couple of years of wholesaling, just kind of, getting in the deal just through pure blood, sweat, and tears, and making those connections and building that network. We've got great, lenders on board that are, so many investors of our own wholesale deals have had to back out because they can't get lending. But, I've got 5, 6 lending, confident lending partners that I can talk to. And I've only ever bought one deal. It's the same with contractors. I know Joey, I've made connections with other great contractors. It's the same with that. Agents, insurance agents, it's all been the same thing. So, when you're wholesaling and you're really out there in the business, putting these deals out and marketing for buyers and doing all this stuff, just always try and put together that network if you're looking to maybe move on to bigger and better things like flipping, like buying holds, or, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like your network is definitely your net worth when it comes to real estate. Like, I don't think anyone can really say that they did everything themselves. It's definitely,
So true.
It takes a village, I guess you could say. But that kind of reminds me of a question I wanted to ask you guys related to, your whole buyers list and everything like that. How'd you guys get started? When you guys got started, how did you guys create a buyers list, and how'd you keep growing it to what you have now? I'm sure, some of the audience would definitely be interested in that.
Yeah, it was, it was rough starting out because we didn't really know what we were doing. I can vividly remember a time early on of Gabe and I sitting in a Starbucks in New Brunswick, cold calling people that put up Craigslist ads, that wanted to buy houses. Now, I don't know if these people were wholesalers that were just putting that on Craigslist, or if they were legitimate buyers.
They were.
But at the time, I mean, we didn't care. If we could get you on the list, you were going on the list. So we were scouring Craigslist. We were scouring Bigger Pockets for anybody who was leaving their information. We were just scooping it up and putting it in the database. And we just had a spreadsheet at the time. And same thing with Facebook. We were in the Facebook groups, and anybody who was posting their information, we were just taking it. Now, in retrospect, that was a horrible idea, because all we were doing was getting a bunch of people on our list that we didn't know if they were quality buyers at all. We didn't know if they were interested in receiving deals from us, or if they were even, buying deals, whatever the case may be. So we would send out these emails, and we thought the more people we have, the better chance we have of getting it sold. But really all that winds up happening is you have a bunch of people that aren't interested in your deals, and they're unsubscribing from your emails, or they're marking you as spam, and now it kills your email deliverability rates, which is huge, right? I mean, the more you can get it in front of people's eyes, the better off you'll be. So, at some point we had a fundamental shift away from just gathering everyone's information, and now it's a much more systemized approach where we're taking people that actually are interested. We're having the conversations with those people and vetting if they are purchasing properties in the areas that we're selling deals at, and if they are interested in the types of assets that we're going to put out there. And we're also doing a lot more with LLCs and things like that, where we're finding the owners of those those LLCs that have actually purchased property in areas that we're finding deals at, and we're reaching out to those people directly and stuff. So, Gabe handles a lot of that now, as far as just ongoing, investor relations and having, forming those relationships with our buyers and seeing who's interested. And, we like to keep, kind of our ear to the ground too, right? Because that was another really important thing for us with this whole COVID thing going on was, we know how this is how we're going to shift our business to this right now, but also our business hinges quite a bit on what the buyers are doing. So we ultimately, before, we started marketing and things like that, again, we had to determine, are people still buying? If so, has their buying criteria changed? And what has that done to the landscape? So Gabe really did a good job with going in and talking to our buyers and our lenders and feeling out, has this changed things for us? Do we need to now secure deals at a cheaper price than we did? Is everything still the same? Are people not buying in certain areas now that they were buying in? Just different things like that. And it all comes from just having somebody who has their ear to the ground and really being in contact with those people.
Yeah, let me just add one thing to that.
Sure.
So if you're wondering, where are all the COVID buyers, you can find them, right? It's not that hard. If you have access to the MLS, it's really not that hard, right? You can look at, recent sales, and you can see everything that sold after March 15th or, whatever date you want to do. And just see all the flips, all the properties that were bought or sold by LLCs. And you can look up that LLC's information. You can call the listing agent, their number's right there. There are ways to, use the data to find people. And, obviously you want to be communicating with the buyers that you already have, after the in early March, when they had the first, real stock market tank, and, stuff started, shit started to hit the fan, excuse my French. Like Corey said, I was literally spent all day, I was just calling every buyer that I knew and just said, like, hey, what are you doing? You still buying? How's your buying criteria changed? Are you still buying in the same areas? Still having the same strategies in terms of, are you still flipping? Are you moving to holds? What's the case? And, that data that you could get, and that information and knowledge that you can get from your buyers is absolutely priceless. You need to know how to adapt to different markets. And that's COVID. I mean, this is the most dramatic example, but I mean, that's, the market's always changing. What happens this year might not happen next year, the following year, or even within a year.
Yeah, it 100% true, right? I mean, imagine if this whole thing had happened and all of a sudden buyers were like, it's too uncertain right now, I'm not buying. And that was the answer that we got from everybody. If you weren't doing that due diligence and you were just pumping money out for marketing, and you were getting these deals, but you couldn't unload them, you're making no money, and you're spending all this money in marketing, you're crushing your business, all because you're just not adapting to the situation. You're not staying in tune with what your people are really looking for. And the last thing that I would put in there for people that are interested in going into wholesaling, or that have a wholesaling company, is that I see way too many newbie investors, wholesalers, that hinge their whole business on the back of a couple of buyers, or a buyer. For instance, they get a hold of a buyer who's a good buyer, and they, and then they just wrap their whole business around that person because they know that they can make money off that person. But guess what? What happens when that person retires, or when that person doesn't want you, piss them off, and they don't want to do business with you anymore, or you have nobody else and they dictate the terms of all your deals? It can really ruin your business. So I would strongly advise anybody who wants to do this, or who is doing this, to really work on expanding your network of buyers and having options, so that you can make more money on every deal, or you can, not be so reliant on one or two or three people, that that regardless of what happens to those people, your business will always generate money for you.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I actually know some investors that believe wholesalers shouldn't make more than like $10,000 on a wholesale, and knowing you guys, that's definitely not the case.
Not at all.
Definitely not.
They intentionally would get a deal under contract with a wholesaler, and then like the day before closing, not, or say, oh, I can't close, and shoot your credibility,
Right.
the seller,
Yeah, we've dealt with those type of people before, and that's just another reason why you have a strong buyers list, so that when somebody does that to you, you can just blacklist them and not do business there. And we've had to do that before, and I'm sure we'll have to do it again moving forward. But my whole belief in that is that as long as it makes sense for both parties, right? As long as you're gonna make money on your end, what does it matter what we make on our end? We have a business that we have to operate. We have costs and employees, and the same things that the flipper or the buy and hold guy has, we have those things too, right? Like, we're not a fly-by-night shop. We have money going out, and thus we need money coming in. So, people like that, I mean, if that's their philosophy, we'll tell them right on the front end, we don't think it's a good fit for you. You need to go do your own marketing then, and find your own deals. If you want to be able to indulge on all the profits, then you got to put in that work for yourself. You can't expect us to do that for you and then not pay up there. So yeah, I mean, that's what I would say to those people, man.
Agree there. It's funny, I did the math for 2019. I paid about $105,000 in wholesale fees for all the properties I bought. So
yeah, I'm sure you made out like a bandit too on the money that you made. And there's deals where we've definitely come away with more money than probably the flipper made on the deal. But then there's vice versa. There's also been deals where we've probably made next to nothing on the deal, and the person that flipped the property made, an amazing profit on the deal. So, there's just times where it works in our favor, and there's times where it doesn't. There's deals we're doing right now where we're making really, like, we're just doing it for the person because we have a relationship with them and we want to see them get the deal, but it's really more work for us than what it is that we're making on the deal. So it goes both ways for sure.
Of course.
Yeah, it's happened in both ways for me, as far as the wholesaler making more than us, or us making more.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
it's happened both ways. If you could recommend any like books or podcasts or just audio books, what would they be?
Well, I mean, for me, I'm sure Gabe is going to have his own list of things that he finds valuable to him. For me, I think that more important than even just things that relate to wholesaling, I think that you need to understand just how to operate a business and how to build a business. Because I could teach you all day how to wholesale, but you won't be successful until you really understand the fundamentals of how to actually grow and scale a business. So I would recommend people to read books like Traction and Scaling Up, phenomenal books on how to actually build a business. The E-Myth is a great book just on systems and learning about systems and what they are and how to implement them in your business. So those are 3 great books people can go out and read. There's also, I could give you a ton of books that are phenomenal that you could go and read, and they'll benefit you tremendously. So if I had to say books, those 3 would be 3 key ones that I would recommend. And then as far as podcasts, when I first started, I listened to like every episode of the Bigger Pockets podcast that there was. Now, it all didn't relate to wholesaling, but there was just a bunch of people talking about a bunch of different things real estate related, which was great. You just get to learn real estate terminology and fundamentals and, different strategies and things like that. And then there's a great podcast actually at YouTube called Real Estate Disruptors. They're primarily wholesaling based. So I would say if you wanted to get into wholesaling, they interview a lot of, some of the, top tier wholesalers and kind of go through the strategies and stuff. And can't forget about you guys' podcast, man.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was about to be my first one.
Start there. Start with this podcast.
It's local, right?
Nope.
No, you always want to grow from there. Another question I had for you guys. When you guys got started, how did you guys calculate ARVs and rehab, or what did you guys do? I don't think either of you had a contracting background, right?
No. No, you definitely don't need a contracting background, but you do need to be able to listen. So, the first deal that we put out, I think it probably needed, like, the buyer ended up spending like $80,000-$90,000 in repairs, and we marketed out that it needed $25,000 in repairs. We were really lucky though that we were like way low, like we overvalued, like we underestimated the repairs by like 70,000, but we also underestimated the ARV by like 70,000. So it all worked out, but it's been a learning process, and in every market the repairs are different. So if you're operating in different markets, you definitely need to have an ear to what people are spending for different repairs in different markets. But yeah, you just need to know what your buyers are paying, because you can go into the same house in 2 different towns, and it's going to be a completely different rehab budget just based off of what type of area it is. So you just really need to talk to your buyers and say, like, hey, how much are you spending for a full gut in Essex County, in Newark, or in wherever you're doing deals. For us it's there, but obviously you can educate yourself. There's lots of stuff online about just learning about general contracting and estimating repairs. But at the end of the day, you really just have to, a little bit of trial and error, but you really just have to be able to listen to your buyers and know what they're spending, because at the end of the day, you're not doing the work yourself. You're marketing to somebody who's doing the work for it.
Yeah, and when we first started, I mean, the ARV part was not really the hardest part in it, because you're just really looking for comparables, right? Like, I mean, you're looking for similar bed bath counts, you're looking for similar square footages, same type of style house, and not really crossing any like major roads. And I mean, the ARV is going to be subjective, right? I mean, even now, like we comp properties all day, every day. I mean, that's just what you do as a wholesaler, right? In the acquisitions field, like you're talking to people and then you're comping those properties. So we have a lot of experience in it, but even now, we could have 10 different investors come out to look at a property and get 10 different ARVs on it, because this is a very subjective measure of value, right? Like, and I could have the same thing with an appraiser. I could have, a couple different appraisers come out and appraise it and get, different appraised values, and then have investors tell me that the appraisal is bullshit and that the value is completely different than that. So wholesaling, the bottom line is you just need to be in the ballpark, right? Like, as long as you're in the ballpark with these things and you don't get caught up in the weeds, like there's too many people I feel like that are new to wholesaling. They get caught up in the weeds and they want to become a contractor and they want to become an appraiser. And that's not what your job is. Your job is to be able to find discounted properties and put them out to a network of buyers and create arbitrage for yourself. So, just get decent at it, right? Like just be able to put yourself in the ballpark of what the repairs are going to be and put yourself in the ballpark of what the ARV is going to be, and you're likely going to be able to make money. And you also have to come to terms with the fact that you're not going to sell every deal. There's a wholesaler out there that tells you that they sell every deal. They're either A, lying to you, or B, they're leaving a ton of money on the table because they're always getting their properties so discounted that that they're able to find a buyer on every deal, and that they missed out on all the other opportunities that they probably could have locked up and made some money on. So that's how we did it starting out. And the only probably thing that Gabe didn't mention is that as you do more deals, you start to have like kind of a database of things you can look at, right? Like if you do a deal and it's a gut job in Newark, it's a 3-family, and a whole bunch of people came through and told you the repairs were going to be 120 or 130,000. And then, down the line, you get another 3-family in Newark that's kind of the same as that one. Well, you can just refer back to, if you have a good database where you're keeping the information, you can be like, wow, this property is pretty similar to that other one we did. And that one was about 130. So, that's really what we did a lot of early on, is we would get the information, plug it into our database, and then if a similar opportunity came up, we kind of refer back to how much things were going to be then. And I don't know if that's what you guys do now, John and Joey, like in the flipping game, if you kind of refer back to previous jobs that you did, and if you see something that's similar, you probably look back to how much it cost you for other deals that you did.
Yeah, there's it's something like that, but every job is a little different, as you know, because we're getting into a little bit more detail.
Yeah.
Whereas you guys are more like generalized in terms of your rehab estimates.
Right.
Because every flipper that comes through, they're all going to do something different. Some guys have their own crew, some guys do it themselves. So it's always different. No matter, you could have the same exact 10 houses, like you could have 10 houses in a row, and in the end, every single house you're going to spend something different.
Yeah.
So
yeah, true. All probably sell at different prices as well. Like
Yeah.
if you were all like on the same, like in the same market, same time. Well,
Right.
if it didn't, what's the word? It didn't flood the market. I mean, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm talking about like houses. Let's say you get a 10 house development, right? And all 10 houses you end up spending, and you build them exactly all the same, right? Because of different subcontractors that you end up using, different contractors, different holding costs, the amount of time it takes to sell each one, different buyers. Some would negotiate, others don't.
Yeah.
So every house ends up being different costs.
Right. And it just kind of speaks to the fact as a wholesaler that you're never going to be able to nail down like what the exact costs are going to be, because just as Joey just said, like that's one buyer telling you that there's just different costs every time. So now if you have like all these different buyers, like you're never going to be able to, like, there's never going to be one, exact repair. And that's why you just have to just get in the ballpark as to what you think things are going to be. And I think you'll be okay.
Exactly.
How can guys get in touch with you on social media?
For me, probably the best way to reach me is either on Instagram or Facebook. My Facebook page is just Corey Charles Reed, Cory Charles Reed. Same thing for my Instagram handle. And then if you guys are interested in learning more about wholesaling, we have a wholesaling group on Facebook that's just 1% Wholesaling RE. Phenomenal group. We're building that group constantly, and we're probably going to be doing a series on there soon, just like walking people through like one of our wholesale deals, like from start to finish live.
Nice.
As it happens. And, we're not charging anybody for that. It's just going to be free educational content. So if you guys want more information and stuff like that, definitely check out that group as well.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And you, Gabe?
Yeah. So you can, both of those places, Instagram, Facebook. Instagram, it's at Gabe Paolella. And then Facebook will just be my name, Gabriel Paolella. If you want to get on our, like, if you're listening to this, you're an investor, you want to get on like our buyers list, or you want to connect, maybe you're another buyer, you're a wholesaler, whatever. Our website is njoffmarketproperties.com. And we also have a Facebook group called NJ Off Market Properties. So would also love to connect with people on either of those platforms. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you're another wholesaler, I'll leave you with this. Our dispo team is beast, and if you're having trouble moving deals right now because of COVID, reach out to Gabe. We're doing some more JV opportunities with people, and we're kind of taking a unique approach to it. So we work with some guys, and we handle the entire process from the time you get a contract signed until the time that the contract closes. You don't lift a finger. We take care of the whole thing for you. You collect a check, and you just focus on locking up deals. So if you're a new wholesaler or an existing wholesaler or whatever, and you want to move deals and get the highest amount of money possible for yourself and just focus on locking up more deals, hit up Gabe or myself, and we'll get you plugged in and we'll start moving your properties.
What's the best piece of advice you'd ever give someone, or that you've ever got? What do you think sets you guys apart from any other wholesalers?
The best piece of advice that I could give to somebody, and it's been said like over and over in this interview, as it relates to just business in general and wholesaling, is do not give up on this. You're like only one phone call away from getting a deal. So just when you think that things are the worst is probably when you're going to take a turn for the best. So never give up. Don't call it quits on the business. Persevere through it, and then treat this like a business. Whether you're flipping, whether you're wholesaling, whether you're doing whatever you're doing, treat it like a business, operate it like a business, reinvest back into the business, and it will grow. If you don't, you can't expect it to produce profits like a business, and you're not treating it like that. And then Jonathan, what was the second part of your question?
The second part is what sets you guys apart from other wholesalers?
Two things. I think that we have a really unique team of people that basically cover off on everyone else's weaknesses. So if you're going to do a partnership, I highly recommend getting into a partnership where you get with people who not only, have the same moral and ethical, backgrounds as you, which I think is the second thing that sets us apart, is that we just have a belief system and we stick by that. And I think it's going to give us longevity in the business. And I think it's why a lot of people want to do business with us, because we do things the right way, even if it costs us money. And then just having a partnership where we have people that cover for our shortfalls and our weaknesses.
Just in terms of just the best piece of advice, I think it's always, I think I said this earlier, always treat yourself like a newbie, always learn something. Every conversation that you have with somebody, especially when you're wholesaling, learn something from that person that you just spoke to. Like, you get off the phone with somebody, like, just think about what they said. Think critically, don't listen to what people say blindly, but, think about what everybody says and challenge your own beliefs. And, nobody's doing anything perfectly. So just always be learning, always be, honing in your craft. And just in terms of what separates us from other wholesalers, I think Corey touched on just, our unique skill set. The diverse team that we've built. We're at the point now where we have several people working with us, and we've just always done a very good job, just in my opinion, of finding those people, recruiting those people, bringing those people in so that they have the same mindset as us, the same values as us. They're going about the business the same way that we're doing. And that's allowed us to slowly but surely scale. Any wholesaler in this business will be a grinder, and they'll do whatever it takes, but not like us, man. not like.
Hey, quick question. Last question. Promise you. How many people are in your team actually?
6 people in our team total.
Getting on a podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
For
for sure.
taking time out of your day. You guys are really busy looking at that board in the background.
It grows every day, man.
Once again, thank you guys. For the people that's watching, don't forget to like, subscribe, and
Share.
any comments, please leave it for us.
Smash that like button.
That's right.
Smash it.
All right.
Thank you.
Here, everyone.
All right, man.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having us.